A great deal has been written and spoken about you in the last 5 years, and a number of people have tried to describe you. How would you describe yourself?
An average, ordinary human being.
Oh, come on. You can do
I don't
better
see
than
anything
that.
different. I don't... What they write about me is a different question as to what really happens. I come to work every morning, work all day, travel around the country in airplanes, hold meetings, do the same thing you do. Because I hold this position doesn't make me any different than any other person in the labor movement or any other type of operation.
Well, what you're telling me is what you do. What I want you to tell me is what kind of person are you? Are you tough? Well, how do you think of yourself?
Certainly not as tough. I think I know where I'm going to.
Well, then I'm going to quote something that was written about you and ask you what you think of it. All right?
It's all right with me. I've heard a lot of things said that I don't recognize.
All right. Well, I'll ask you if you recognize this. This is written, I think, by Max Lerner, who was a sort of newspaper philosopher. He said, you see life as a jungle, the law as a trap to be got out of, that you work hard, that you get the best lawyers, and when you get into trouble, you bull your way out of it.
I would by all except the last. I don't bull my way out of it. I work myself out of the way of it by having proper investigations made, presentation of evidence to counteract what the government or somebody else, some prosecutor tries to present, and be able to separate the fact from the fiction. Now, of course, life is a jungle. Anybody who thinks that it isn't, just isn't around. Don't know what's going on.
What do you mean by that, Mr. Hoffa?
Everyday life of the average individual is a matter of survival. If by chance he should go from home to work and have an accident and lose an arm or a leg or an eye, he's just like an animal wounded in the jungle. He's out. And life isn't easy. Life is a jungle to be careful and aware of the fact that once you are something other than a Joe Doe, that the people below you, the people around you, who are looking forward to advancement, create part of the atmosphere of a jungle. You have to walk pretty careful and pretty warily or you're in trouble.
The next line was that ethics are what you can get away with. What do you think of that?
Ethics is a matter of individualism. And what may be ethical to you may be non-ethical to myself. Now, I'm not unaware of the fact that a lot of people disagree probably with my actions, my ethics. But my ethics is very simple. Live and let live, and those who try to destroy you, make it your business to see that they don't and that they have problems. Just that simple.
I gather you find a lot of hypocrisy in Washington. A lot of people who say one thing while actually doing another.
I think there's more con men in Washington than there ever was in a carnival.
Could you give us some examples? I don't mean names necessarily, but...
There isn't a single thing that I find in Washington that's real. It's a make-believe fantasy. If you could take a congressional subcommittee hearing, which is held in private, and be able to record that, and then take and record the same politicians on the floor, and match the two of them together, you wouldn't recognize it was the same group of people. And that's what I object to. A lot of people don't like what I say, but I say what I think. And if I tell you something, I won't be telling three other people something different.
Mr. Hoffa, I think your opinion is that the Attorney General has got a vendetta against you. Is that right?
I think the record speaks for itself. There's no question about it.
Why do you say that?
All you have to do is check the record. He has 32 grand juries in the United States looking into the affairs of the Teamsters unions. He has seized the records of almost every joint council in this country of any importance, spent months in the international headquarters investigating our books, and cannot be convinced, because he doesn't want to and because of his desire to carry on this fight at the government's expense and his own vendetta, that the records that we file with the government are bona fide, established, accredited records by receipts, vouchers, and checks. No other union in the United States is receiving the same treatment. Now, there's 179 international unions. And if there isn't a vendetta, why is there over 3,000 people at the government's expense and the taxpayers' expense investigating the Teamsters Union? Repeatedly, not once, but repeatedly.
Why would the Attorney General do that?
In my opinion, he is never in his life ran up against a situation he couldn't dominate, that he couldn't control, and have his way. He's just a spoiled young millionaire that never had to go out and find a way to live by his own efforts, and he cannot understand resistance to what he wants. And if you look around this country, he has made almost all of the international unions conform to what he wants. We don't intend to do that. We're going to carry out what our membership wants, within keeping of the law, whether Bobby Kennedy likes it or not.
Here's an interesting point, Mr. Hoffa, that is not very substantial, but I wonder what you think about it. A number of people, writers who have explored this, have found, oddly enough, that you and the Attorney General have a great many characteristics in common. That is to say, you're both energetic, aggressive, ambitious. What do you think of that? You're both devoted to physical fitness.
There's only one thing I like about Bobby Kennedy.
What's that?
His willingness to work and to fight to win. Now, outside of that, I have any use for him.
But you would give him that much credit and no more?
That's all. And I wouldn't even give him that credit because he's not right enough to use his own money. Now, if he would use some of those millions he has and carry on this fight, I'd respect him a little more. But instead of that, he's using the taxpayers' money to carry on the fight for his own personal vendetta.
Do you hate the Attorney General?
Wouldn't waste my time. When you start hating, you forget to think. I got to think how to beat him, not how to hate him.
Have you ever added it all up just out of curiosity? How much have you been accused of stealing?
I think McClellan said at one time, at some $20 million I was responsible for. Never did say how, but he just made the flat statement.
What do you think of Senator McClellan himself?
Faker. Flat, straight out a faker.
In Senator McClellan's hearings, he did have a formidable list of stealing, Dave Beck, among others, in the history of the Teamster Union. But what's your opinion on that?
Well, let's take it. And 107 names. 107 names that he used to build the fabrication of the Senate hearing and his book. I produced, under oath, a breakdown of those 107 names. To where if I was wrong, he could have indicted me and put me in jail. And I proved to him that out of the 107 names, there was exactly 16 people that were on the payrolls of this Teamsters Union.